Mr. Witness, you may recall that before lunch break I asked you a question about the evacuation of Phnom Penh. And I asked you also what you have heard about the reasons for the evacuation of Phnom Penh. And as one of the reasons, you used the words U.S. bombings. Could you explain the court what you mean when you use the words U.S. bombings?
Regarding the evacuation, as I stated earlier, I was not inside the city, but I asked the people who were inside the reasons for the evacuation of people. And through those people, I was told that the evacuation was to avoid the enemies who remained in the city, and number two, to avoid the aerial bombardment. And of course, the aerial bombardment would indicate the American bombardment. And we heard such a concern through both verbal communication and through radio communication. And that I learned of that information and the reasons, the two reasons for the evacuation. That is for the infiltrated enemy, that they would or may attempt to attack. So people should be evacuated in order to better manage and control the city.
Did you yourself ever experience U.S. bombings, as you called it?
Regarding the American bombardment, of course, I personally experienced it on a number of times prior to our attack on Phnom Penh. For instance, when we were along road number 26 and at the various other countrysides, we were bombarded by the American planes.
Could you describe in a little more detail what you experienced?
The experience, let me give you an experience. While we were at the front, then the plane would just fly over us and sometimes dropped bombs, and sometimes we have to flee from the trench, and once the plane left, then we return to the trench. In some other cases, for instance along road 26, the trenches there were heavily bombarded.
Do you recall when that was? You were in the military, but do you recall which year that was?
I cannot recall the year clearly, but it happened before the attack on Phnom Penh, and it only stopped when we advanced almost at the outskirts of Phnom Penh. So they usually bombarded us when they noticed us as soldiers. But when we advanced toward the Po Yintong area, the bombardment stopped.
Did you also experience American bombing before you joined the military? Before you joined the forces?
No, I did not experience area bombardment prior to my joining of the army.
Had you maybe heard from family about their experiences in respect of the US bombings before you joined the military?
I do not get your question.
Did you maybe speak to family members about their experiences with US bombings prior to you joining the armed forces?
No, I did not ask or experience with the family members or my parents regarding this matter.
What do you remember yourself in 1975 about the possibility of US bombings? Were there, for instance, any special preparations made within your regiment in respect of that?
Regarding the preparation in 1975, before or after the liberation, here I referred to my military unit. We did not prepare any artillery or equipment targeted the plane. We did not have such a facility. If we were to be bombarded by the aerial bombardments, then we would have to flee from our location. We did not have any gun or equipment to fire at the plane.
That is all. Thank you, Mr. Witness.
President, thank you. The floor is now given to Ieng Sari's defense to put a question to this witness. You may proceed. Good afternoon, Mr. President, Your Honors. Good afternoon, everyone in and around the courtroom. And good afternoon, Mr. Ung Rain. My name is Ang Wadom, and on my right is Michael Canavas. We are co-counsel for Mr. Ieng Sari. I have some questions for you. Initially, my questions are related to your testimony yesterday and this morning. Yesterday, the President asked you a question as whether you were interviewed by investigators of the Office of the Co-Investigating Judges, and if so, on how many occasions. And you clearly stated that you were interviewed 3 times. Do you stand by your statement? Response. I have made several statements and I cannot recall every one of them. I want to know the number of interviews that you made with the investigators, and you said 3 yesterday. Do you stand by that number? President, witness, please observe some pause before you speak. Response. I cannot recall everything, but it is likely that I was interviewed on 3 occasions, or the most on 4 occasions. Question. You said it could be 3 or 4 times. And yesterday you were sure that you were interviewed 3 times. So let's say you are not sure how many times you were interviewed. Is that accurate? President, witness, please respond to the question. Question. The President also asked you that before you entered the courtroom, whether you reviewed those written records of your interview and to make sure that they are correct, and you replied that you did and they were accurate. My question is the following. What documents did you review and how many documents altogether? Response. As I just said, there were many questions that were put to me, and I could only respond if you show me the document of which particular question you were raising. Thank you. Question. Before the prosecutor asked you detailed questions, they handed you your written records of interviews. How many of the interviews, your interviews that you received? Response. I received a copy of my interview, but since I have been in this document, I actually brought in some documents as well, but I have been given several documents, so I cannot tell you exactly. Maybe I was given 3 interviews by the prosecutor. Question. Allow me to clarify this matter. Yesterday, the co-prosecutor Chavan delivered you a copy of your written record of interview. I refer to yesterday's proceeding. And my question is, can you recall how many documents you were given yesterday? Response. I received documents, but I cannot tell you how many, because I do not count the documents. The documents were before me, and then they were taken back at the conclusion of the proceeding. Thank you. Allow me to put some questions to you, and please respond. Based on the documents in this case, the written record of your interviews are 4 in total. One is dated 17 September 2009. That is the first interview. And the second one is dated 23rd October 2009. And the third one dated 26th October 2009. And the fourth one is dated 9 March 2010. So these are your 4 interviews in this case. Do you acknowledge that you were interviewed 4 times? Response. Yesterday I said I was interviewed 4 times at my location. So, for example, on this day I was interviewed and given a copy. Next day I was interviewed again. So I could not recall it exactly, but it is likely that there are only three interviews. But if you find it 4, then that's 4. Thank you. On your first interview day, that is 17 September 2009, and prior to that date, that is before the day of your interview, which is dated 17 September 2009. And allow me to say this, all the 4 interviews were conducted by the same 2 investigators, that is Samsurya and Thomas Grange Morrow. My question is the following. Prior to your first interview, did you meet with the 2 or with any other investigators of the Office of the Co-Investigating Judges? Response. Before the interview, I met them, and they said that next day they would come for the interview. Thank you. And when you talked to the investigators on that day, was there any record of it? Response. The investigators took some note. Question. I'd like to make this matter clear. That is, regarding the day that you met the 2 investigators before the first day of your first interview. Let's say you met them for an unofficial interview the day before. Was there any audio recording of such meeting? Response. As I recall, there were not only 2 investigators, but the whole team comprised of about 4 people, and the interview took place while the audio was recorded. Question. I do not want to talk about the official interview of your interview. I want to talk about the event that took place before that interview. That is when you first met with the investigators of the OCIJ. How long did the meeting last? President, witness, please wait. Counsel, please wait. President, witness, you are instructed not to respond to the questions put to you by the National Council. That is the last question, because it is irrelevant. Council, you are instructed to put questions which are related to the facts determined by the Chamber for this proceeding and which are related to this particular witness. Counsel, besides defending my client, my role is to try to find justice. President intervenes. You already ruled on this issue, and the Chamber has discretion to not allow any questions which are irrelevant and not ascertaining the truth. And this matter has already been ruled.
Counsel Angodam, I wish to proceed to another question as I have been stopped from putting the questions that I intended to ask. In the interview, the first interview, course. Document E3/402 on the last page in Khmer 00379450, English ERN 00381037, French ERN 00424052. You were asked the last question about the telegram, and you said that I just remember that by the end of the telegram it was marked with Office 870 only. As for at the top of the telegram, I do not recall what was written. My question to you is that what you said, Office 870, or you didn't say like that? Response. As I already mentioned earlier on, with regard to the telegram I received at O Bang Kan Sang, I just recall that it was sent from Office 870, the content of which was handwritten. It was not typewritten or handwritten. Rather, it was not typed. It was handwritten from 870. Counsel Angadam, thank you. Your Honors, I have already requested the relevant unit to transcribe the transcript, the relevant portion of this. I made the request a few days ago. Today, we noted that there was some technical error regarding the coding number on the transcript that I had requested, and to see whether Mr. Ong Ran did say Office 870 or other. With Mr. President Liu, I would like a document, the audio recording of the interview be played. It's very brief. It's about 20 seconds. This can refer to document D 232/21R, starting from at 224 to 225. The President, International Co-Prosecutor, you may now proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. With all due respect to my colleague, there does not appear to be any need to listen to the audio tape. Someone, and I assume it was the defense counsel, requested a transcript of the audio tape, which was posted yesterday. This is document D232/21.1. And at the end of the transcript that was posted is the following excerpt. Interpreter, do you know who signed the message? Ren, no, it was just put down as 870. It seems fairly clear from this that the witness did say the telegram was from 870. I hardly see any point in listening to an audio tape.
Counsel Angadam. I feel that the prosecutor has obtained the transcript when I, the requester, at the same time have no access to such document. I don't know what is wrong. The relevant unit appears to have failed to send the document to me. Perhaps the document has been sent to the chamber instead of me, the requester. If I had access to the document, I may not wish to have the audio recording be played back. But for the time being, I have no access to such a hard copy of the document. If I had it, I would prefer having the hard copy instead. The President, the chamber rejects the request made by counsel for Mr. Ingsari to have this document be played because it is not necessarily relevant, as now we have the witness before us. If counsel wishes to put any questions to him concerning this issue, then he should do so. And it is the chamber who ultimately assesses the probative value of the evidence. Counsel Ang Adam, I thank you, Mr. President, but it has already been the same practice before. The President, this situation is a unique one, although it is not always the same. Co-prosecutor, we noted you are on your feet, but if you wish to touch upon the same issue, you would not be allowed. If you would like to address other matter, you may wish to do so now.
Mr. President, I simply wanted to make sure the record was clear that I did not have secret access to this. It was notified to all parties yesterday at 3:53 p.m., posted on the case file. So counsel, if he had checked his email, would have had access to this document.
The President, thank you. The document has already been formed to the party at 3:54 p.m. on the 9th of January. Counsel Ang Udam, through exchanges over lunch break, I learned that there was a technical error in coding, giving coding to the document. That's why it was not properly submitted. However, I would like to proceed. Mr. Ong Ran, Yesterday, you testified to the chamber that Mr. Son Sen did not have any code name. It was very precise in your statement. However, after a few documents being presented to you, you then stated that the 89 was Son Sen. In Khmer, actually, he could have been called Son Sen, not Son Sen, but people refer to him as Son Sen all along. And at that moment, you said Mr. Son Sen did not have the code name, and then you recanted your message by saying that Brother 89 was indeed Son Sen. What do you have to say about this? Response. I have been asked questions, and I already been very careful in responding to all the questions. At that moment, I did not remember whether he had the code name, but after reading the report written by Tin, it rang the bell, and I could remember this, that he also had the code name 89. Counsel Angodam, it is acceptable if you said you don't remember, but at that time when you were asked the question, you said that Son Sen did not have any code name. I would like now to proceed to another question. Under the second interview, document E3/84. I have not prepared the documents for you because I believe that you already had obtained the document. However, with Mr. President's leave, I would like the document to be put up on the screen so that the witness can follow my line of questioning. The President, you may proceed. Please make sure your mic is activated, Counsel. Counsel Angodam. Document under Khmer ERN 0039 8513. English ERN 00408395. French ERN 00434422. Midway on the page, you were asked the question. The President, International Co-Prosecutor, you may proceed.
Yes, Mr. President. The exhibits were taken away back from the witness yesterday, so he doesn't have a copy of his interview with them. I have a copy here that I'm happy for counsel to be provided to the witness, but I think the witness should have a copy of the interview when he's being asked questions about it.
The President, court officer, please bring the document from the prosecution to the witness. Bring the 3 documents if co-prosecutor has them. Indeed, the interviews Mr. Ong Ram gave to the investigators. Counsel Angadam. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Ong Ran, I was talking about page number 3. Now we are referring to the same page. Midway on that page, you were asked this question: was Committee 870 the Central Committee? And you said, yes, it was the Central Committee, which can be said that they considered of senior leaders. My question to you is, between the Committee 870 and the Central Committee, what would be the difference? How could you identify which is which? Response. First, Office 870 was an office, and another one is the 870 Committee. Question: are these 2 institutions the same? Response: no, they aren't. Office 870 was under the direction of Committee 870. Counsel Angadam. So when you said the Central Committee could have been referred to the senior leaders, can you elaborate on this? What made you say that? Who were the senior leaders? Response. I can say that in the Central Committee, as I stated, what I know is that Pol Pot was the first member, followed by Nuon Chea. These are the 2 individuals that I know belong to the committee. I don't know other people. I don't know whether Mr. Ieng Sari or Khieu Sampon could have belonged to such Central Committee or not. So when 2 or 3 people combined, they could make up a committee, a Central Committee comprised of Pol Pot and Nuon Chea to me. And I just don't know whether other people could also been part of the Central Committee. That's all. Counsel Angadam, thank you. I have another question for you, please. On page number 4 in Khmer of the same document, under Khmer ERN 00398514, English ERN 008396, French ERN 00434423. On the top of the page, I would like to read The question and answer as follows. Why did the General Staff Office and the Office of Brigade 801 that both had the same telegram machines not send to Su Sarun, who at that time was at the General Staff Office in Phnom Penh? You responded by saying that, as I observed, the issue concerning such discipline had to go through Office 870. The technical or battlefield matters could be sent to and from directly. As far as I know, the high-ranking people such as the Central Committee or Committee 870 generally discussed the emerging problems and then made a decision. Now this is my question. You said that the senior people at the Central Committee, or rather at the Office 8 or Committee of 870, generally discussed the emerging problems and then made a decision. You said, as far as you know, the high-ranking people, such as the Central Committee or Committee 870, discussed the emerging problems and then made a decision. So my question to you is, how did you know that? Response. I did say that during the interview. I wish to now iterate that, emphasize that personally, I say this because I observe what could have happened back then, because the decision had to be jointly made, because Committee 870 comprised of a few other people, not just two people, and we believe that, or I believe that these people on the Committee 870 could have met to discuss things before they made the decision. Question: when these individuals met to discuss something, did you ever attend such meeting with them? Response: no, I didn't. I was not authorized to attend such meetings. I was not allowed to discuss anything when these people could have met to discuss things. But experience tells me that decision had to be collectively made. An individual person could not make a decision, and it applied to Committee 870 as well. Question: you did not attend any of the meetings where these people who were members of the committee attended. Apart from your observation, did any other people who attended such meetings come to tell you anything about what being discussed during the meetings? Response. As I mentioned, I worked at the lower level and I did not really receive any information, or I was not informed by any member of the meeting or the committee, and I just read the message that already written and signed by members of the committee, and I was not personally or directly informed by any of those uncles. Counsel, thank you. Since you never attended any of the meetings where these people met and you never been informed of the meeting from any of these individuals, is it fair to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the reason you know generally the Committee 870 discussed the emergent problems and then made a decision is your pure speculation? Response. Yes, it is. Question. I would like now to proceed to another question, which is on page number 7 of the same document under Khmer ERN 00398517, English ERN 00408399, French ERN 00434426. You were asked this question. When Brigade 14 was changed to Brigade 801, where did they meet? How was it held? Who participated? My colleague told me that I read the number not correctly. When Brigade 14 was changed to 801, where did they meet? How was it held? And who participated? And you said, during the announcement of the appointment of 801, all senior leaders participated. They were Pol Pot, Nuon Chea, Ieng Sari, Son Sen, who announced the appointment at the Olympic Stadium about 15 days after the liberation of Phnom Penh. My question is, was the meeting convened about 15 days after the liberation of Phnom Penh? Do you still stand by your statement?
Let me clarify the matter again. Before the attack on Phnom Penh, it was Division 14. Council, allow me to interrupt. You said that the meeting at Olympic Stadium was about 15 days after the liberation of Phnom Penh. Do you still stand by that statement? That is regarding the meeting with the announcement of the formation of Division 801? Response, yes, I still recall that. Because that was the target for the formation of the new division and for the assignment through Ratanakiri. Question, you are referring to the date that is the 15th, or whether you refer to 15 days after the liberation of Phnom Penh on the 17th of April 1975. Which one is correct, or which one you stand by? Response. I stand by my statement. Question. After the announcement of Division, during the announcement of Division 801, there were senior leaders including Pol Pot, Nuon Chea, Ieng Sary, and Son Sen. So, were they all? I mean, those 4 people were the only senior leaders of the regime? Response. In my statement, I already clarified that Pol Pot, Nuon Chea, Ieng Sary, and Son Sen were there. Thank you. During yesterday's proceeding, you were also asked by the prosecutor regarding the announcement made in that meeting. You were asked whether you knew Mr. Ieng Sary, and you replied that you did not understand it. My question is the following. During that big meeting, how did you know the names of those senior people? Response. As I stated earlier, I said what I knew, and besides that, I did not know anything else. I only knew about those people, and for instance, Mr. Khieu Samphan, I never knew him, nor Ieng Sary, and I only saw them during that meeting. And then I knew that they were senior leaders. And later on, they referred to him as Brother Ieng Sary, one of the senior leaders. As for Son Sen, I knew him better. Counsel, thank you. My apology for my interruption. The question that was asked by the prosecutor was in fact one of the questions in that same document that is on page 8. Let me clarify this matter again by another question that is on page in Khmer 0039 8518. In English, 0040 8400. In French, 00434427. You were asked the following question: why did you know that person was Nuon Chea, Pol Pot, Ieng Sary, or Son Sen? And you replied that some made an introduction there. My question is the following: did at that time they make an announcement that Ieng Sary was referred to as Ieng Sary or Comrade Ieng Sary? Response. During that meeting and the announcement, they did not refer to him as a comrade, but rather as a brother, or bong in Khmer. So it means they use the title brother and then the actual name? Response: yes. For example, brother number 1, brother number 2, and of course brother number 1 meant Pol Pot. And they said brother Ieng Sary, etc. Thank you. I have only one more question for you. That is on the same page in the same document. The question is, before the announcement of Division 801, did you meet any of these leaders? And you said that I met them before the fall of Phnom Penh. So this means that you had met these numbers of leaders prior to the fall of Phnom Penh. And the next question that was put to you is the following. You said that you had met these leaders before the fall of Phnom Penh, and where did you meet them and on what occasion? And you replied that you only met Son Sen. So in the previous response you said you have met them prior to the fall of Phnom Penh, but later on you said you only met Son Sen. And then you were asked another question. At that time, who else did you meet besides Son Sen? And then you said, no, I did not. So first you said you have met those people before the fall of Phnom Penh, and then you said you only met Son Sen, and later on you also said that besides Son Sen you did not meet any of the others. How can you account for the discrepancies in these statements? Response: I must clarify this matter. I must say that I only met Son Sen, and I did not meet any other leaders. Only after the fall of Phnom Penh, then I met them. That is during the announcement of Division 801. So I did not know any of them prior to the fall of Phnom Penh except Son Sen. Question. So I can conclude that prior to the announcement of Division 801, you only made Son Sen. Is that accurate? Response, yes. Counsel, thank you, Mr. Ong Ran. I have no further question for you. And on behalf of my client, Mr. Insari, we thank you very much for your testimony to this court in order to ascertain the truth. We wish you all the best and have a safe trip. Thank you, Mr. President. President, thank you. Councillor Michael Canavas, do you have anything to add?
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Your Honors, and good afternoon to everyone in and around the courtroom. I have one clarification and one request. The clarification is that we put in a portion of the tape to be transcribed. Now, I don't know whether this was by accident or by intention, but the prosecution misled the trial chamber when it indicated that what was put on the file yesterday was the portion that we had requested to be transcribed. Now, I understand the court's ruling, but I want to make sure that we're very clear that we're speaking about two different sections of the tape. And we're willing to give allowances to the prosecution that simply got it wrong and misled the trial chamber, hence the wrong ruling by Your Honors. Though I understand that in the past you have been reticent to hear tapes of interviews. The request is, the gentleman has indicated that in the first meeting, when it was not tape recorded, notes were made by the investigators. Those notes, as far as we are concerned, are part and parcel and should be made part of the file. And in fact, they would constitute part of a statement. And therefore, we request the trial chamber, in light of your decision, to make inquiries and investigate the matter and produce and have the investigators produce the notes that they took during the unrecorded session they held with the gentleman prior to the recorded session. So our clarification and then this request. We think we are entitled to those notes because we're talking about sources of knowledge. And we wish to know what exactly was discussed, what notes were taken, because if the gentleman provided answers and they were recorded and memorialized, we are entitled to have them. This was information we were not available and could not have known, let me underscore that, even by listening to the tape itself, if that is a reason for the trial chamber to deny our request. Thank you.
The prosecutor, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. The only misleading that has been going on here is from the Ing Suri team. I did not say that I knew which the defense team made the request. I know it was not the prosecutors, and therefore it was most likely one of the defense teams, as they are the ones who have been regularly requesting that portions of audio transcripts be transcribed. And what is misleading is that counsel got up and told the witness and made a statement to the court that the witness had not said in his interview that the telegram came from 870, made a statement to the court that there was no transcript of the audio recording, and here yesterday was posted a transcript where very clearly the witness says the telegram came from 870. Now, I don't know whether it was Ing Suri or some other team, but I know that that was posted yesterday, and for counsel to get up in this courtroom and suggest that the witness had not said on the tape that the telegram came from Office 870 when a transcript was posted yesterday where he said that, that is misleading.
Mr. President, we have two different portions of the tape. And the prosecutor stood up and said what was put on the file. What he failed to notice is that we made a separate request. And had we listened to the tape, then he would be in a position to make the arguments if his arguments are indeed correct, which we suggest they are not. And it is misleading, I think, to the court to suggest that something has been placed in the case file, and that is the tape that is being sought to be played. And Your Honors made the ruling that since the tape was was transcribed, and gave the appearance that somehow we missed that and we were unattentive to that, the matter needed to be clarified. Thank you.
The President, the time is appropriate for a short break. We will take 30-minute break and return at 3:15. Court officer, could you assist the witness during the break and have him return to the courtroom at 3:15? The court is now adjourned.